Hey there, my friends. Welcome to a real eye-opener. We're diving deep into the South Florida real estate crisis. And trust me, the reasons behind this crazy surge are going to leave you speechless. But hey, let me throw a couple questions your way first. So folks, what do you think is behind this incredible surge in prices? So, what do you guys think it's causing all of these prices to go up, that's basically making it very, very difficult, folks, to find affordable housing down here in South Florida in the Fort Lauderdale area? Well, my friends, in this video, we're going to be spilling the beans and more. So sit back, find yourself an easy chair, sit back, grab yourself your favorite beverage. Let's go. So be sure to stick around to the very end of the video to hear reason number one. It may just surprise you. So folks, let's go ahead and start with the big picture. So folks, reason number 5 for the skyrocketing cost of real estate down here, it's inflation. Okay, now it's no big secret. Everybody knows that they're paying more now than they did even 2 years ago. In fact, recent studies have shown it's $700 a month more than basically what you were paying 2 years ago for exactly the same thing. And unfortunately, everybody else's salaries, everybody else's wages, they really haven't kept pace with that. But probably the best way to kind of illustrate this is that, so we've a number of clients that have bought homes down here in the South Florida area, the Fort Lauderdale area. So, and a lot of the homes have pools. So one of the things we were kind of chit-chatting about with some of our colleagues and some of our friends, some of our clients, is basically, how's this hit you? How's it hurting you? And I was talking to one of our clients, Mike, and basically he came out and he kind of summarized it best. He's like, "Oh my God, Kev, you're not going to believe this." He says, when we bought our place a little over 2 years ago, and we bought the pool, we signed up for a pool contract to come out and do the big stuff. We're going to handle all the chemicals and everything else ourselves because it's pretty constant. You put a certain amount in each month and everything is great. He says, do you realize that over the past 2 years, the cost of pool chemicals has gone up? He says, I checked it, it's almost 76%. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, oh my God, I couldn't believe that. He goes, yeah, it's amazing. He says, don't get me wrong, we still love the pool. He says, but it's amazing. It's gone up 76%, over the past 2 years. There's our prime example of how inflation is hitting folks. Another one is that we have a number of clients that are coming down to the Fort Lauderdale area, and they're coming down for golf. Okay, and so one of the questions we get asked a lot, is, are the green fees still affordable? Now, for the folks that are coming from the Northeast, then yes, the answer to that question is yes. The green fees are most certainly still more affordable than some of the green fees up in New York area, Boston area. But even in areas like Palm Air, which has 3 golf courses, we're seeing an uptick of about 25 to 35% in the green fees just from last year to this year. And there's nothing that's really changed. I mean, the golf courses are still good, they're still very well maintained, but there's been no real tangible change other than just the cost of providing those kind of services. So it's in addition to the big things that everybody's talking about as far as inflation, the cost of food, the cost of energy, the cost of buying gas, and everything else, most folks wouldn't think about as far as impacting home ownership and property ownership. But I mean, even a 76% increase in pool chemicals, I mean, come on, folks, that's a little high. So folks, navigating the South Florida real estate market when things are relatively normal is challenging enough. But with the way things are going right now, with increases in prices and the interest rates going up, and all a number of other things that are happening down in the South Florida area, in the Fort Lauderdale area, navigating the real estate market now, trying to make a good decision or trying to make one that actually you can make your best informed decision, you really need to rely on experts like my team and myself. We've been doing this for quite some time. We're neighborhood experts. We look at the market, we study the market. We are talking to folks all the time about what's happening. We're looking at all kinds of economic indicators. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to go ahead, give us a call, shoot us a little text, a little email, click on the calendar below to go ahead and set up a time where we can chit chat for about 40-45 minutes. Any questions you may have, any concerns that you may have, anything that's real estate related in South Florida and the Fort Lauderdale area, we're here to help. We love answering questions. We love just basically finding out. And folks, it actually helps us by giving us more information and giving us more, a more balanced perspective on what the questions are and what's happening. So please feel free to reach out. So another reason for the spike in real estate costs in the South Florida area, okay, is basically supply shortages. Now, we did go through a significant inventory shortage from 2020 throughout the COVID period, the pandemic, through 2021 and into 2022. But we're still seeing a lot of a slowness, kind of bringing everything back to normal. And earlier hopes that the analysts and the economists had in regards to new home pricing, kind of new homes builds coming in, we're going to kind of help that. I mean, it really hasn't been coming quick enough. So there's just not a whole lot of property available down in South Florida, in the Fort Lauderdale area. So, folks, and even for the properties that aren't available, kind of really, it's actually been a boon to investors, where investors that basically have the wherewithal to come down and buy those properties. I mean, we're seeing rental prices that are going through the roof. We're seeing, still very, very high in areas where there's a very, very low volume of inventory. We're still seeing significant increases in prices over the previous years. So it just comes down to basically there's just not a whole lot of property still available in South Florida and the Fort Lauderdale area. And honestly, much like when we talked to some of our friends that work at Lucky Fish, I was talking to one of our buddies, and he's not a client of ours, not yet at least, but I think he's going to be real soon. So basically, and this is a buddy of ours, John. Okay, and John's lived in the South Florida area mostly all of his life. I think he was telling us that he grew up in the Margate area, and he's moved out towards Pompano Beach. He wants to get a little closer to the beach. So I was talking. I just said, "Hey, John. So hey, kind of what's going on? What's going on in the neighborhood? What's going on in the area?" I mean, a lot of our friends and a lot of our clients, they give us tremendous insight what's going on in some of the more popular neighborhoods, and especially in their neighborhoods. So we always try to keep in touch with them so we can find out from basically the folks that live there, kind of what's going on, what's happening, are there things that we need to be aware of. Is it a neighborhood that would be great for people to look to move into, or was it a neighborhood that would be good for us to go start talking to some folks who are looking to maybe move out from the standpoint of they want to either upscale into a bigger property, or they want to downscale into a condo, or maybe they're looking to go somewhere else. Anyhow, I apologize. I digress. So you're sitting there talking to John, and I was asking him. I said, so dude, what's going on? What's happening here? And he said, man, Kev, I'll tell you. He says, honestly, we don't know what to do. He says, there's been a number of properties that have been sold in our neighborhood. I said, yeah, I kind of noticed that. I was checking the MLS, and I've seen a lot of activity going on in the neighborhood. And I said, so what do you think's causing this? He goes, dude, because it's all the rich people coming in from out of the state. So, and all joking aside, I mean, we are still seeing, as we've mentioned in some of our other videos, we're still seeing a tremendous number of folks coming in from the Northeast. We get a lot of folks that come in from New York, New Jersey, and Boston. We're starting to see a lot of folks coming in from LA and the Bay Area and Cali coming in. It's even though prices are going up in the South Florida market and in the Fort Lauderdale area, they're nowhere near as high as they are up in New York, New Jersey, and Boston, and also out in Cali. They're cashing out from where they are, and they're coming into this area. He says, we had some folks that came in from San Diego that basically they walked in. He was telling me it was almost a sight unseen sale. They walked in, they saw the property online. He says he's met the folks. They're very, very nice. He says, but you can tell that they have a little bit of money. He says, but they come in and basically they saw it, they liked it. It was a fraction of what they had paid for their condo in San Diego, and it was a single family home on the water. He says basically to them, they said it was a no-brainer. So, we are seeing a lot of folks that are coming in and buying up property that in South Florida and in the Fort Lauderdale area. And the folks are coming in and they have a nice little bucket of bucket of money that they can use, and they'll go ahead and pay for it. And if they're not going to worry about negotiating heavily for the price, or if they feel that the price is what's affordable to them, okay, then they're going to go ahead and pay for it. So we are seeing a lot of wealthy buyers coming in. The other thing that we're seeing is that because the rental market is still very, very, very hot down here. In fact, in some cases, it's more difficult to find a rental property than it is to find a property you're going to purchase. He says there are still a lot of folks that are coming down looking at duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, and they're basically they see the benefit of it. They see what the future's bringing to them as far as the rental opportunities. I mean, in some of these neighborhoods, we've seen rental increases going up 25, 35, 40% over last year for what the rents are getting. And the folks are locking in. They're locking in for 12 months. They're locking in for 6 months. I mean, and there's still the ever-present short-term rentals that we're seeing happening in areas like Hollywood and Sunny Isles Beach and in Fort Lauderdale, and of course, Delray. So we're just seeing a lot of folks coming down here, and they're taking this as an opportunity to go ahead and acquire property so that they can turn around and basically rent it out and have a good, strong return on their investment portfolio. So, we do have some high wealth buyers, some high cash buyers that are coming in and buying property up in and around the Fort Lauderdale area. Reason number 3, I guess kind of fitting in with the shortage of available properties, okay, is that we're actually seeing, and like in any type of a fluctuating market or any type of a dramatic market situation, you do see folks that are in a position where were able to take care of it. So one of the things that we're seeing significantly more of are basically, we refer to them as wealthy buyers, but basically they're folks that are coming down that have the wherewithal to be able to pay cash for whatever they're looking at or whatever they're looking for. So, and it's kind of a cause and effect type of a situation in that we talk about a little bit more. But essentially what's happening is that, with the increase in the cost of property ownership here in South Florida, we're seeing 2 things occur. We're seeing a lot of folks that are coming in to try to take advantage of that, especially from the standpoint of identifying and buying, available rental properties, be they condos and short-term rentals, and you can see a lot of that from some of our videos on short-term rentals. But even for folks that are looking for the more traditional real estate investments in long-term rentals, or folks who are looking to buy duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes, they're coming down to go ahead and take advantage of that. One of the things that's also happening is that because the cost of everything is going up so high, a lot of folks that have been here for a number of years, okay, and there's some folks that we run into that have basically lived here all their life. A lot of those folks are now they're finding it that actually they just can't afford to be here anymore. I mean, whether it's the increase in monthly maintenance fees on some of the condos that are around the Fort Lauderdale area, whether it's an increase in homeowner association fees, also in around this Fort Lauderdale area, or whether it's the increase in property taxes due to the increased sales prices, or if it's the granddaddy of them all, it's the big increase in the cost of homeowners insurance, especially for the single family homes. That's due to skittishness on the insurance company's side as far as what's going to happen if the next big hurricane comes through, or the fact that a lot of the number of insurance companies are basically pulling out of the Florida market entirely, not just here in South Florida, but basically Florida all around. Basically having a smaller number of options available for you to be able to insure your home. If there's any one of those, what's happening is just a lot of folks are finding that in the South Florida area, they're finding it a little bit cheaper to either go to other areas within Florida. Maybe they're going up towards the Orlando area, they're going up towards the Panhandle area, but South Florida, I mean, we're still seeing, in some cases, we're still seeing record high sales prices in some neighborhoods. So it's making it difficult for folks to be able to afford to live here in South Florida. But one of the other things too is that it's also causing them to question and say, look, I've owned my house for 15, 20, 25, 30 years. I don't know anything on it. Okay. And if I sell now and move out of the area, okay, I can cash out. And again, I mean, if the price is right, a lot of the folks that we've talked to, they're ready to move. Like one of our clients right now is looking to basically cash out on a house that they own and move up to Tennessee. It's just the right time for them. So they're ready to basically, go ahead and put their property in the market, doing all the things that need to be done, and they're going to go ahead and head out of the South Florida area. So I mean, it's things like these. I mean, other folks, we're just seeing such an increase in some of the tangible and some of the direct, I should say, and some of the indirect costs of property ownership. It's giving people a cause for pause, or taking a look at it as an opportunity to kind of reassess where they're at and looking at what they can do, what their options are. Reason number 2, basically population growth. Okay, so now kind of in conjunction with new folks coming in from more expensive areas of the country and folks looking to basically buy investment properties, we are seeing, and that in conjunction with such a strong economy down in the South Florida area. In fact, I've mentioned in a number of our previous videos is that the Tri-County area, Palm Beach County, Broward County, Miami-Dade County, we refer to as a treasure coast. And basically, I mean, the GDP alone of those 3 counties, I mean, it's greater than the GDP of some small countries around the world. It's a very strong economy, 2.4% unemployment. There's all kinds of industries coming into the area. I mean, we used to rely heavily on tourism, but now we're relying on high tech, we're relying on finance, we're relying on healthcare. I mean, and there's healthcare options that are just basically amazing. Anything that you want, from pediatrics to geriatrics, it's anything that you're looking for. So there's a lot of incentive for folks to come down to the South Florida area, the Fort Lauderdale area, from the standpoint of moving into, it's 3,000 hours of sunshine a year. I mean, you can't get much more than that. I mean, yeah, we put up with the occasional, heat in the summertime and the occasional rain. And, we have a couple of months where we may have some hurricane threats, but folks are still flocking to the South Florida area. Florida is a number 2 relocation area in the country behind the state of Texas. And South Florida is definitely holding its own as far as that goes. So folks are coming down to the area, which is to the South Florida area, which is causing a significant increase in population. And folks, again, we've said this before, we said it, and we'll say it again. They're not making any more land down in South Florida. So basically, whatever we have is what we have, and folks are doing everything that they can to find property and to build on property, where they're going back and they're petitioning the zoning boards and the planning commissions to allow them to shoehorn properties in. And areas where one of the things that's become very, very big now is going in and trying to find non-performing or basically defunct golf courses, and developers are buying up these golf courses and making significant investments in the hopes that they can pass all the environmental impact surveys and environmental impact studies so that they can go out and build in these golf courses. So I mean, they're just not making any more land down in South Florida, which is basically, again, you're trying to accommodate folks that are coming down, but there's just not a whole lot more land available. And there are still a lot of localities that have height limits on buildings for condos, and they also in many cases they have height limits from the standpoint of how high you can go up in a house and how big the house can be, depending upon whether or not the land perks, depending upon whether or not the water and sewer facilities can accommodate what's going on. There are significant tangible limitations that are limiting the availability or the ability to build up and to build out. So I mean, the best way to illustrate this is that, we have a buddy, Tom, okay, and we've known him for years, and he's been threatening, if you will, to come down to South Florida for a long time. And Tom is one of these kind of guys where basically he's pretty much good at everything he does. I mean, he was in the mortgage business up in Georgia for a while, and he did very, very well. But he kind of got into the foodie business, and he really fancies himself as a chef. Now, I will admit, I mean, the dude does a mean steak on the grill. But basically, he decided that he really wanted to kind of come down. He's been hearing us talk about South Florida and the Fort Lauderdale area for years, and he decided he just wanted to go ahead and make the move and come down. So he basically ditched everything and decided to come on down. And he was able to get on with a really, really nice restaurant down off of Las Olas in Fort Lauderdale. Okay, and he get himself a job. He started off as kind of a junior chef, if you will. I'm not that familiar with how the hierarchy of the chef business, but apparently now he's an executive sous chef, and he's killing it. He just loves it. And I didn't ask him if we could use the name of his restaurant, so I'm not going to call it out right now. But basically, if you go down there, I'm sure you'll enjoy anything you can have on Las Olas. But essentially, he's come down here. I mean, he's a prime example. It's a great economy. There was great opportunity. Okay, and he just decided to go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot and come down. So you know what, man, hats off to you, dude. I think you're killing it. So reason number 1 is basically the spiking interest rates. So folks, without a doubt, interest rates are probably one of the most significant contributors to the skyrocketing costs of property ownership. Down in the South Florida area. Even if you're paying cash, it's probably not as significant as it goes as if you're going to finance, but a lot of folks still do finance. And what's happening is that it's going to cost more. Back in December 2021, just less than 2 years ago, interest rates were sitting right around 3%. Last week, interest rates spiked up over 7%. So I mean, that's a twofold plus increase in less than 2 years. Now, don't get me wrong. Interest rates are still very, very low. When I bought my first house a long time ago, I mean, I paid almost 14%. So I'm still be happy at 7 looking back at historical data. But essentially, when you find interest rate and the cost of money to buy property more than doubles, okay, that almost cuts in half what it is that you qualify for, and it makes whatever you buy more expensive. For example, I mean, if you look at a $500,000 property at 3% and a $500,000 property at 7%, I mean, the payment, it goes up by almost 54%. So I mean, that is huge. That severely limits what you can buy, and it also causes you, I mean, you're paying more for less property than you would before. It's just one of those things. It's a significant contributor, the interest rates. And the interest rates, that goes across on everything that you're doing. Let's say you want to go finance getting windows redone, putting new impact windows in. You want to finance putting a roof on. I mean, it's not just on the acquisition of the property, it's on anything that you're going to be borrowing money on to fix or upgrade or update your property. It could be putting a pool in. Anything that you're going to do, you're going to be paying higher interest on it, and it's going to cost more. So interest rates are certainly a very, very significant contributor to the higher real estate prices in the South Florida area. So, I mean, and kind of keeping with our, with basically giving some examples of what's going on. I mean, a good example is a friend of ours, Sarah. Okay, and Sarah has she's got a little teeny, she calls it lovingly her bungalow, but it's a little 3-bedroom, 2-bath Key West style house. Single level house. Basically, it has a very, very low pitch roof and a little flat roof in the back that goes over a screened in patio. So it's nothing super, super elaborate, but it's a very cool place because it's actually only about 3 blocks from the beach. So it's a very, very nice area, very, very cute little house. And when she bought it a number of years ago, and she knew at the time that she bought it that the roof was about 2/3 the way through its life. And she decided that, it's getting to the point now where she's getting a little concerned about the roof itself, and she wanted to go out. So she called up a couple of roofing companies, and the reason we know about this is because she actually got us involved, because we do business with a number of roofing companies, and we know kind of who's good and who's not, and who's reputable and who does what they say they're going to do, and all that other kind of stuff, much like with contractors. So, kind of wink, folks, if you're living down in the South Florida area and you have questions about roofing and you have questions about contractors, please feel free to reach out and let us know. We're happy to kind of give you information that we give. But anyhow, let me kind of get back to our buddy Sarah, to our friend Sarah. So she called around a number of roofing companies, and essentially, the prices of the roofs were anywhere from like $26,000, or actually take that back. The cheapest one was $16,000 for shingles. She really didn't like that. She wanted to go with the same barrel tile roof that she had before. The ironic thing about the roof, about barrel tile roofing, is number one is that there's a limited availability of tile right now. It typically takes 90 to 120 days for tile to be made by the time that you put your order in, and they bake it, they form it, they bake it, and everything else. Now the other thing is that, permitting aside, the other thing is that different colors cost different amounts. I'm not really sure why that is. I still haven't got a straight answer from anybody as to why that is. But essentially, she was going to go ahead and she was going to go through one of these financing deals where basically you don't have to pay interest for the first couple of years or whatever it is. Interest on the roof, if she didn't go ahead and keep the payments up, interest on the roof went up to 31.9%. Folks, that's usurious. That's kind of ridiculous. But that's an example of what it is. That's an example of high interest rates. Higher interest rates is going to cause, she wants to get her roof replaced. She's going to end up spending probably close to 35 or 40 grand for the new roof, the barrel tile roof. Okay. And if she takes advantage of the no interest option, then basically she'll be able to, pay it off with no interest. But if for some reason something happens, if something slips, she's going to be paying almost a third of it in interest. 31.9%. Folks, you know what I'm talking about here. So that's probably one of the best examples I can give as far as the impact of interest rates on the cost of owning real estate and property ownership here in South Florida area. Well, there you have it, my friends. Thanks for joining us on this little journey through the perils and the roller coaster ride that we call property ownership here in the South Florida area. As they say, for everything good, there has to be a little bad. But if you've got some thoughts on this, we'd love to hear those. If you have some questions, we would certainly love to hear those. Please feel free to drop any notes in the box below. If you like the video, go ahead and tell us you like the video, and go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and click the little bell to get notified every time I drop a video. If you have questions, or if you didn't like the video, definitely let us know so that we can go, because we're all about continuous improvement. We want to make sure that we're providing everybody with good, honest, complete information on what's happening in the South Florida real estate market. And again, if you would just give us a thumbs up, let us know that you liked it, and we appreciate it.